Hi everyone, I'm BKLYN with Parsons Entrepreneur Academy. Thanks for joining us for our monthly office hour series. Tonight, we're excited to be working with our wonderful co-sponsor, Parsons Continuing and Professional Education. And here at our office hour series, we like to invite successful and inspiring entrepreneurs and leaders to share their stories and the lessons they've learned along the way and interesting insights from their expertise. So for those of you who are joining for the first time, Parsons Entrepreneur Academy is a platform that empowers creative entrepreneurs like yourselves to build sustainable businesses around your art. And we achieve this through our 3 pillars that include mentoring, training, and community. So please visit parsonsentrepreneur.com to learn more. We'll drop a link in the chat. You can look out for that. All right, so today, we're happy to welcome one of our esteemed course authors, Phaon Spurlock, who is the owner of Prototype Marketing, Brooklyn League, and Luxurious Prototype. He will be leading a webinar that will teach you how to target your dream audience on a budget. And during today's workshop, you'll be provided with a link to your very own Target Your Audience workbook. You can actually look in the chat right now and click on that and download it so you have it. So this is one of the tools that Phaon will be referencing or that you can go back to after the webinar to reference. So again, look out for that in the chat and download it now. And also today, so at the end of the webinar, once Phaon is finished presenting his content, I'll pop back on and provide you all with a code where you can get 50% off of Phaon's How to Sell Your Creative Work course, which we're launching on February 3rd in 2022. So please stick around and stay tuned for that. All right, so here's how it's gonna work. During the webinar, Phaon is going to present for 50 to 60 minutes. And we're gonna follow that up with about 15 to 20 minutes of Q&A. So as Phaon presents, if any questions come up, please leave them in the Q&A box. If you look at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you'll see a Q&A icon. You can click on that and leave your questions there. Once we get to the Q&A section, Phaon will address your questions. Please don't leave any questions in the chat. The questions in the Q&A box will be prioritized. Also, as people leave questions in the Q&A box, if you see a question that you're also curious about finding out what the answer is, you can like that question so it gets upvoted to the top. So the questions that get upvoted to the top, Phaon will address those questions first. So please remember to put your questions in the Q&A box as we go. All right, so now I'd like to introduce our webinar instructor, Phaon. We're very lucky to have him on our platform and to have him leading this workshop today. So Phaon is a marketing professional, serial entrepreneur, speaker, college adjunct instructor, and Forbes featured lifestyle writer. He is the owner of Prototype Marketing, Brooklyn League, and Luxurious Prototype. His 15 years of experience in marketing has led him to work across several industries, including finance, nonprofit, and entertainment and media. His passion for marketing inspired him to start Prototype Marketing, a creative agency that focuses on digital, experiential, and multicultural marketing. Through his speaking engagements, courses, and consulting, he has had the opportunity to teach digital marketing to various people across different career backgrounds. Phaon has been featured in Forbes, Black Enterprise, Men's Health, NBC, and a host of other different publications. He is a graduate of Southeastern Louisiana University and an EMBA student at Quantitative School of Business and Technology. Now, I will hand it over to Phaon, who will provide you with further insights on himself, his background, and dive into the amazing content. All right, Phaon, you're up.
Hey everyone. Thank you, Carlan, for that amazing introduction. I really appreciate it. I feel like I have nothing more to say about myself because you did an excellent job at doing that. But I look forward to spending this time with you guys. And apologies if you guys hear any noise in the background. Living in New York City, so there's always like a fire truck or something going by. So apologies on that. But I look forward to spending time with you guys. I'm super happy to see that there's so many people from around the world that's tuning in to hear this presentation on target audience and a little bit about digital marketing. So we're going to jump right into it. I'm just going to share my screen. So this is a workshop that I created. It's a digital marketing essentials workshop. So it touches on digital marketing as well as targeting the right audience on a budget, which I feel that we all need to know because it's super important for building and scaling our business is to understand the audience that we want to reach. So just a little bit more about me. I have over 15 years of experience, and I've worked for companies such as Prudential, Allen Devtram, College Beyond, McDonald's, New York State Senate, a host of different companies across different industries. I actually have a degree in biology, which people find very odd because my work is very centered around marketing. However, I kind of had an epiphany during my junior year of undergrad, and I made that change then, but I didn't change my degree. I knew at that point I wanted to be in marketing. And so during that time, I made sure I invested a lot of my time into doing internships within the marketing space. I currently hold a marketing certificate from the University of Pennsylvania, Wharton School, as well as I'm a professional studying student at New York University, as well as Executive Master of Business Administration student at Quantitative School of Business and Technology. As Carly-Ann mentioned, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have a couple different businesses I'm under my belt at this point right now, but I've had at least 10 and over the past 15 plus years or so. Currently, I am the owner of Brooklyn League, which is an apparel brand that ties in philanthropy and fashion, and it's an e-commerce brand. I also own Prototype Marketing, as Carly-Ann mentioned, Marketing Hackers, which is a more productized version of my brand Prototype Marketing. So you can go there and you can pick packages. It hasn't officially launched yet, but it should be launching soon. And I'm also the owner and editor-in-chief of Luxurious Prototype, which I started in 2006 as an outlet, a writing outlet to show just like I guess my creativity and things that were happening during that time in fashion and lifestyle and things like that. As Carly-Ann mentioned, I've been featured in Forbes magazine, Black Enterprise, Essence, Gotham magazine, and more. So now we have that out of the way. I think you guys have a good understanding of me. Let's kind of just jump into it a little bit. Oh, well, there's this piece. So I had the pleasure of speaking at the White House, City Year, Black Enterprise, Obama Foundation, Trailblazers, and more. So now we can start and get into it. So what to expect from this? So we'll focus on targeting and digital marketing. So in particular for digital marketing, I'm gonna have an emphasis on social media marketing and email marketing because those are the two best forms of digital marketing and the most impactful. All right, so targeting 101, first things first. You shouldn't start any campaign without understanding your target audience. It's super crucial to understand that audience because it helps your campaign and also the development of future campaigns. So what is a target audience? A target audience is a particular group of people or businesses to which an advertisement, a product, a website, and or a message is directed. So just for this workshop, I'll be focusing mostly on B2C, which is business to consumer or customer, versus B2B, which is business to business. So the benefits for targeting is honestly amazing. And once you actually understand your audience, you have a better way of making more money and also saving more money. You can get in front of the right people who are likely to convert to customers, which is more money earned. And you have the opportunity to create personalized content based on that audience. And you're also able to target the audience with things that matter the most to them. So think about it, right? If you're a brand and you know your audience. And there was another brand that's like, don't know who my audience is. And you guys are both putting out a campaign, right? And one is more targeted. One is like, I know who you are. I know where you go to eat. I know where you work. I know all this important details about a customer or an idea of what a customer profile is versus the one that doesn't do that. Who do you think is going to probably have the better success and also lower costs? It would be the one that knows the target audience, right? Because now it's more targeted, it's more niche, and you're more focused on your messaging. So let's dive into it. So do you already have a customer base? So this question is really for people who already have a brand, established brand, or they have a couple months under their belt and have sold a couple products or services, so they have an idea of who their customer base is. So things they should probably know at this point would be the location, a generalized, average like location, gender, which items they bought, what are the benefits of those items, which item is selling the most, and what age range you think people are buying the products and service. So these questions are super important. Things to know is super important because it kind of guides you through the process of building out your brand, because this sometimes may change, right? So this is always good to kind of like come back to these questions every 6 months or so and do a check just to make sure that you're still aligned with those customers. And you may have a product or a collection that completely changes your whole customer base, right? So you want to make sure they're completely aligned. So if I were you guys, and if you're already at the stage of where you have a business, I will revisit this about every 6 months or so and just figure out where they are. And these are things that you can find on several platforms that you use, either social media platforms or your website analytics. And we're going to dig a little bit deeper into that as well for research purposes. So who needs your product or services? So a quick exercise that I like to do is I like to make a list of all the products and services that I offer and my brands. And I also do this for my clients as well. And the next thing I do is to each product or service, I write the benefit of each one. And also you guys can follow along with this information also in the workbook as well. The next is I like to write next to the benefit, who may benefit from that product or service. So think about each of those people. Do they have any commonalities? Can you describe that person, things they may do, their age, their gender, right? So this is kind of like the brainstorming aspect of it. This is where you already have an idea of your brand, or if you're not there yet, you should definitely understand your brand a little bit more before you get to this point. But if you're at that point to where you understand your brand, you want to sell, if you're in fashion or any other industry, you want to do streetwear or swimwear or luxury goods, you have a general idea of your potential customer, right? I mean, I think we all can kind of gauge like, okay, maybe this person will be more interested, this age maybe a little bit more interested than the other. So you want to take that kind of preliminary brainstorming research, and it's going to guide you to the next phase of it. So one thing that I like to do is once I have an idea of my potential customer, right? And remember, this is just preliminary. This is also just a brainstorming session. I like to see what my competitors are doing, right? So if you're at the point where you have your brand, you understand your brand, then you probably know who your competitors are or have an idea of who your competitors are. So thankful for the internet and being digital, you can kind of spy in a little bit, if you will, to see what your competitors are doing, just to get an idea of like where they are in that space. And it's pretty, I think it's best if you kind of approach it as looking for competitors also in your same space. So they may have started around the same time as your brand, and also competitors that may be a little bit above or a little bit more established your brand, right? Because ideally they may be the same customers, but you want to get their customers, right? I mean, the name of the game is you want the customers, you want to provide a great service. So do a little spying. And the way that I do this spying, if you will, on my competitors is I go to their social media pages. This is the best way to do it because this is the personified version of their brand out to the world, right? So the first thing I do is I look at their posts, and from their posts, I look at their hashtags and I see if there are any commonalities in them, right? Are they, if it's a luxury brand, are they putting hashtag luxury or hashtag luxury goods or hashtag luxury market? So look at some of the things that they're doing. Is it aligned with what their brand is presenting? Also, are those hashtags aligned with what your brand is, right? So take note of this in a notebook or also the workbook that's provided, and just jot those notes down. Another thing that you can do is click on the hashtags and see how many people are actually following. So in Instagram, people can now follow a hashtag, right? So in your feed, you can follow a hashtag and you can just see that in your feed. So this tells you how many people are very interested in this hashtag. So, look at that, take a look at the hashtags, look at the number of people who are following it, gauge it, right? So if it's a hashtag that's only one person is following, it may not be the best hashtag, but you don't need to have 1 million people following to be a viable hashtag, right? You can have a hashtag that's only 100,000, and that's actually much better in most cases than 1 million, right? Because if 1 million people are following it, that means 1 million people are seeing that. So if you're using that hashtag, you're going to get lost in all of the posts that are attached to that, right? So finding hashtags that have low follower count, no, but a mid-size and mid-range, 100,000 or so, 200,000 or so, it's good. The next is I like to look at the competitors' followers. And it's just as simple as going to their followers list, right? And you can kind of see from their engagement from there and click on some of their followers, right? And take note of that. So if you start to see that it's mostly women and you're like, okay, so probably they're probably targeting women, right? Or if you see if most men, it's the same way, right? See if there's any commonalities amongst the followers, are they talking about the same issues? Are they posting similar things? So make sure to take note of that. The next thing is look at the comment section on the posts of your competitors, right? Are people receptive to what they're putting out? Do they like it? Do they not like it? Are they giving feedback? What are they talking about this brand, right? Because this is going to help you when you're actually creating your content to know what to avoid or sometimes what to do, right? Based on the comments and likes that posts receive of your competitors. It's just a good way to kind of gauge and kind of start at the base of what you want to do for your content as well as your brand. All right. So the next part is now we have the brainstorming session. Now we have our understanding of what our competitors are doing, is to create a customer profile. Now, has anyone on this webinar has created a customer profile before? If you have, can you just give me a thumbs up in the chat? Okay. All right. See. Okay. Awesome. So a customer profile is an amazing way to kind of take all information that you've researched or brainstormed and put it all into a persona, if you will, right? And most brands have more than one persona, right? Depending on what you sell. So if you sell men and women's clothes, then you're probably going to have a persona that's a man and a persona that's a woman, right? So make sure to have personas based on your products and services that you offer. And it can definitely be more than one. So the first piece in a customer profile you want to think about is the demographics, right? So demographics is your age, location, gender, income level, education level, marital, family status, occupation, and ethnic background. The next piece is a super important piece. It's the psychographics, which is the personal characteristics of your kind of ideal customer, ideal client, the persona of what that person would be. So it's the personality. Are they fun? They're flirty, they're humorous, or what's their attitude, or what's their values? What do they value the most? What's at their core? What are some of their interests or hobbies? Do they like skiing? Do they like playing basketball? Do they like drawing or writing or working out? And their lifestyle, what are their lifestyle? Do they enjoy spending time on the beach more? Or they enjoy spending time indoors? Or they enjoy, hiking or things like that? And their behavior. So once you have your customer profile, the next is to evaluate it, right? So you want to you have all the information and you want to test it to see if it's actually viable, if it's actually a good target audience, right? Because the worst thing you do is just stop there and just say, oh, this is my customer. And then you go to market and then nothing happens and no one buys from you. And so you want to make sure you kind of test it, right? And get some research, some real research behind that, and some real data to kind of give you a little bit more of a push to say, this is the right audience for me. So the first form is primary research, which is primary research is conducted by you or someone that you hire. That includes qualitative research and quantitative research, right? So qualitative research is a form that focuses mostly on the opinions and feelings of the target audience. So this type of research can be done in the form of interviews or focus groups. And I know what you guys are saying, right? Like, if you're just starting off, who are you going to talk to? Who's this focus group? If you have to conduct it on yourself, like, who am I going to reach out to, right? Trust me, it's super, super simple. It's easier than what we think, right? Again, we use social media every day, so let it work for us, right? So you can find a group. For example, if you are a swimwear brand, right? You can find enthusiasts, a group of enthusiasts who are interested in water sports, are interested in just going to the beach. They love the beach. They love traveling to places around the world that have great beaches. And you can go in and just ask questions. You know, so like, would you be interested in a swimsuit that provides X, Y, and Z, or made of X, Y, and Z, right? Get that information in, right? And this is the easiest way you can do this. You know, the other way is bringing a group of people who align with your customer profile. This could be your friends, could be your family, or friends of friends that can come in to do this, and sit them down and have a couple questions and just simply ask the questions and take that down. Or you can email them that, right? So there are several different ways you could think about these interviews or these focus groups. And, you know, the other piece of that is you could definitely hire an organization that may already have people in their database that they can align with your customer profile that you created, and send them out emails or set up in-person meetings or in-person interviews or focus groups on your behalf. So the next part is the quantitative research. So this is research that's based on statistics and real numbers. This type of research can be in the form of surveys or social media analytics, right? So again, you can use the same idea that we used with the qualitative, but now we want to focus more on the numbers and want to get an idea. So these are great for setting up polls on Facebook groups. This is great for setting up polls on your Instagram, right? So in your stories, you can literally ask a question and get the polls from that, the poll answers from that, and use that as data. And if you're already an established brand, then you already have a leg up, because now you can actually use your social media analytics to kind of inform you on some of this information. Okay, so the next piece is the secondary research. So secondary research is conducted solely by someone else or a research firm. This type of research can be in the form of a white paper, journals, or reports. I found some of the best to be Pew Research, Qualtrics, Nielsen, and the one that we all know, because if you're definitely in the US, for sure, you have to know about the census report, and I'm sure it's everywhere else as well. So this is information that's readily available. Some of these sites you may have to pay for to get some of the white papers or journals, but some of the information, such as the census report, is absolutely free. You just go onto the website, type in information that you need. So if you're looking, you want to target people who are in New York City, you can type in New York City, and it'll come up with all the information, income information, education, do you live in a home, do you live in an apartment? All this information is readily available for you and for free on the census report. I would definitely shy away and stay away from sites such as Wikipedia, because those are very much user-generated. So those are places where anyone can go in and input information, and we often find that some information is misinformation, right? And so you want to make sure when you're doing this research for your brand that you have really qualified research to have a good backing, so you know that you're stepping out and going to market and with peace of mind to know that this is something that's been vetted out and qualified. So when you're thinking about the research phase and you're thinking about your secondary research, some things to look for is, can your ideal customer, based on the profile that you created before, afford your products, right? So let's, for example, say that you originally in your profile said that you wanted to reach people who are 21 to 25. And they live in, I don't know, Wyoming. And then you notice that your product is a luxury product where price points start off at, let's say, $800 for, a belt or a t-shirt. Based on this information that you receive, you probably will find out that that may not be the best group for you, because if they're that age, they're just starting off in their career, or they're already still in college, and they probably can't afford to spend that much money on a luxury item, right? So these are things you want to look for. Can they afford it based on what you've set out first, and also what the research tell you? And trust me, the research will tell you this, and they will give you this information. Even the census report, if you pull up that age range in that location, it's going to tell you how much people are making. And how much income and household income based on that age range in that location. The next is your ideal customer in the area that you want to target? And it's as simple as, if you have going back to the swimwear, you can definitely target people anywhere. And I'm thinking about the United States, but you probably will see more people on the perimeter, on the outside, closer to beaches, versus people who are in the middle of the country, right? Not saying that they can't go to the beach as well, because I'm sure they want to get out and go to the beach also, but thinking about who could be your primary target first. And so like you have your target, your first target, primary target, and then you have your secondary tier. And that can be people who are not in those like coastal states and coastal cities. Are there enough people that fit the criteria? Again, if you have a very niche product, and if it's luxury or if it's niche, then you really want to think about how many people can fit in that space, right? You don't want to, go to market with a product, and not to say you don't need to change your product, but you may need to change your strategy a bit. If there are only 10 people, and obviously there should be more than 10 people, but just using that as an example, there's 10 people only out there in the world or in your state or your city or wherever you're trying to target that fit that criteria, right? So you may need to expand out. So if you're just thinking about, okay, people who live in New York City, then you may need to expand out to different areas that may be surrounding New York City, right? To get more people into that mix that fit your criteria. And will your message resonate, right? And it's kind of like, this is a great way, kind of ties in all the pieces that I mentioned before. Your messaging is key. It's part of your branding. It's part of your ethos of your brand, and making sure that it resonates with the audience, right? And making sure that they understand it and they get it, because that's your business and that's the bottom line of your business. That's the soul, if you will, of your business. So making sure your message resonate is super important, and it kind of goes back and echoes back up to some of the points I just mentioned before in those questions. All right, so at this point, you did the brainstorming, right? You did the comparative research. You did some focus groups, you asked your friends and family, you got some white papers, you got some journals, you have all the information that you need, right? And you think that is it. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go to market. Almost, right? Marketing. So one thing about marketing, it's test and learn, right? So you may go, to market with what you have. You have the research to back it up, right? You have, and it's like, this is it. I'm going to go to market with this. And then you may go to market and it may not do it as well, right? So you want to always make sure you kind of adjust with that, right? So your target audience, again, like I said in the beginning of this, it may change. You may have to go back every 6 months and kind of revisit some piece of these questions that I've asked, that I have here. But, knowing that it may change, age may change. And I can give you a perfect example. When I started my brand, BKLYN, I was like very sure, I did my research, I was very sure it's going to be younger millennials, Gen Zers type, right? It was a streetwear brand. It was very much trending of what other streetwear brands are doing and things like that. So I was like, it matches perfectly. It fits. I live in New York City. The brand is very much New York City based. It makes sense. When I went to market, I didn't make that many sales from when I first started off. I was just like, what's going on? I don't understand it. But I used the data. I used the research that I established once I launched to let me know. And I also, during that time, had started ads. And it tells me, okay, people in this age range are clicking on the ads and they're also purchasing, right? So from that, I skewed my target audience a little bit older. So then instead of being around like 21s to like the 30, it was more so like 32 to like 45. And that is the sweet spot. And I have to think about it. Why is that, right? Why is that the case when it's a streetwear brand that kind of aligns with other streetwear brands out there? It's because it's very niche. My brand is called BKLYN, and we're definitely focused a lot on Brooklyn. And I tend to find throughout my research that people who rep Brooklyn hard are people who are a little older than the 21-year-olds. And so it ended up working out perfectly. But again, if I would have just stuck at that one target audience, that one audience, and just left it at that, I'd have lost a lot of money. So again, make sure you're always analyzing and checking and making tweaks as needed as you go through the process. All right. So if you guys are still with me, I'm gonna get just like a thumbs up in the chat. I want to make sure y'all still with me. Y'all, I got it. Awesome, awesome. All right, well, let's continue. So this part of the presentation is pretty much a high-level overview of digital marketing, what it is, some of the components of digital marketing, and also the two best forms currently right now of digital marketing. So according to the American Marketing Association, digital marketing refers to any marketing methods conducted through electronic devices. So this includes online marketing efforts conducted on the internet. So I'm pretty sure we all have an idea of what digital marketing is because we live in a very digital world and it's in our face every day. We have mobile devices, we're on the internet. So we have an idea of what it is, but do we know all the components? So there are several different forms of digital marketing that some are known, such as social media, and some aren't really so known. So I'm gonna kind of go over the components of digital marketing. The first is content marketing. Content marketing educates and inspires consumers. So this is the posts that you see that's encouraging you to keep going. This is the infographic that gives you information on how to sign up for a loan or a mortgage loan, if you will. This is the emails that you get that has information on how you can do X, Y, and Z, or you can learn something, or you're taking a webinar, right? Content marketing. This right here, what we're doing right now, is a form of content marketing because I'm providing something that I hope can give you guys be inspiring as well as educate. So this is a form of content marketing, and it also ties into other forms as well. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. The next is the one that we all know, right? We all probably are on social media. And so it's social media marketing, which is marketing through social media platforms such as Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. And so this form of digital marketing is for engagement and peer-to-peer sharing, which is key for this component to build your brand, increase sales, and also drive website traffic. And this is probably the one that most people are very familiar with. The next is email marketing, which is rated definitely one of the top forms of digital marketing. And the reason why is because it's the quickest and most direct way to reach your consumer. And we will take a deep dive into email marketing and why I personally think it's one of the best and why other marketers are really championing email marketing, especially right now. The next is search engine optimization, which is, you probably know it as SEO, which is optimizing content and websites to appear at the top of search engines. And this is done by strategically placing popular content aligned keywords and phrases into copy and metadata of the website. So the whole idea of SEO is you want to be first on the search engines. You want your brand to be, you type in one keyword that really aligns with your brand, and then there goes yours. Because obviously most people sometimes people don't go to the second page. They usually scroll down maybe a couple, and then that's it. So by having keywords that align with your brand and using them strategically and placing them in certain pieces and places on your website, you can then tell the search engines that this is a real website, this is a real company that's actually providing something to someone, right? And so that's how you start to get your rankings up on search engines, right? And a great way to do this, aside from just having, if you have an e-commerce store, is to have a blog and write content. You don't have to write every day, but maybe one blog post a month or one blog post a week that has those keywords in it, right? The next is mobile marketing. So this is marketing delivered through mobile devices such as SMS, MMS, and in-app marketing. Now, remember I said that email marketing is one of the best. Mobile marketing is quickly coming up to the top, right? Mobile marketing allows you to reach people via text, which sometimes is much easier and I would argue sometimes more than email marketing, quicker and easier. However, it's still kind of like it's still slow in the phase right now, but it's definitely on trend to outpace email marketing for sure, especially as we continue to get more into like the digital phase, whereas in-store apps, I'm sorry, in-app marketing, such as advertising that you may see in games or pop-ups that you may see in some of your favorite apps. The next is paid search, which is pay-per-click advertising. So this is another way that you can get your brand name ranked on the top just by paying for it, just by putting out an ad. And it looks very similar to what it would be if you were organically listed in those search engines. And the last piece is marketing automation, right? So I listed all of these different components, and I mentioned all these different components here. And it can be overwhelming thinking about a marketing campaign and having to have all these different platforms that you're on. You're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, you're on Twitter, you have your MailChimp or Klaviyo, you have your Google AdWords, you have all this that's in play. And what marketing automation does is it's a platform that ties in everything all into one. So therefore, you don't have to scramble to go to different platforms just to do that, right? You can access all of the platforms I just mentioned and more all on one platform. So it makes it super easy for when you're creating digital marketing campaigns. All right, what are the benefits of digital marketing? The first is cost effective. I mean, it's definitely low cost compared to traditional marketing. It's detailed targeting. You can reach your ideal audience. You can literally in social media advertising and other forms of advertising, you can literally pinpoint people even down to the block that they live on. For example, if you want to target a certain store or a certain community, you can literally target just that area. It's super detailed compared to traditional marketing where it was more so, okay, I'm gonna send out mailers or I'm gonna send out to this area and hope that they get it. Whereas this, you can send it to them multiple times and they can see it, right? The next thing is it's easily measurable. So you can use platforms such as Google Analytics and Facebook Pixel so that you can measure your campaign as it goes along. And it kind of ties into number 4 and number 5, optimizing it, right? So now that you're able to actually see the analytics and you can see where you are in your campaign real time at any time, then you can make adjustments to it. You can optimize it to make it better. Right. And also, if you see that the campaign is just not working, you're optimizing, you can quit it. You can stop the campaign right then and there. Versus traditional marketing at times, when you have a campaign that's already going, it's a bit harder to stop it. For example, even if you're doing traditional advertising, you're thinking about a billboard or a print, you can't really just go and take that down. You really kind of have to let it go throughout the life cycle of what you paid up for. Sometimes they'll let you change, but it's not as easy as it is to stop a campaign that's digital versus traditional. Social media marketing. So here are the pillars that kind of surround social media marketing as it relates to pretty much all of the components that I just mentioned. The first is strategy, right? So this is coming up with the idea of what you want your marketing, social media marketing campaign to be, right? This is, okay, I know that I want to reach X amount of people or people in this area, and I want to do it within this time frame. And this is how I'm going to do it, right? And so that goes into the planning part of it. How am I going to do it? What am I going to set up for it? What's the frequency of my posts? Who do I want to receive it, right? And the publishing aspect of it is once you have it set up and you have your content, you have your copy, you have what you want to say, you have your photos and your videos, then you will publish them, right? And the next piece is the listening. And listening is exactly what it is. It's watching your posts and seeing what people are commenting. Are they liking your posts? Are they giving you feedback? Are they, what are they saying? Are they sending you DMs about your posts? This is the listening. And the engagement piece which is super, super important. And if I can say anything else about social media for you guys, engagement is key. You cannot have in this time right now a social media profile and not engage with your audience. And when I say engage, I mean respond to them. Right? You should, and also just not to people who respond to you, but also to seek out people who will potentially like your product. That's the only way at this point right now, unless you're paying for it, to grow your brand organically. to reach people who may not be already in your space, who may know or know your brand. You have to engage with people who send the posts, who send comments, and just simple thank you, or whatever you want to say back to them, or have this dialogue. They DM you, do that, because what this does is it tells these social media platforms that this is a real company because they're responding, it's not a robot, and B, that people like to talk to them, or they like to talk to people who talk to them, right? So now what the algorithm does is expose you to more people, because now it's a real person, it's not a robot. And they know that this is the content that you produce. So therefore, we're going to show more people that content because this person engages. That's what social media platforms want you to do at the end of the day, is to have some type of dialogue, to connect, to like, to comment, because that keeps it going. The next piece is analytics. And so this is just taking the information and the data that you receive from that. And so if you guys have, or if you guys don't have, or if you do have a profile for your brand right now, make sure to have it as a professional or a business account, because especially on Instagram, because this allows you to look at the data. And so the data can tell you that your followers are most likely to be on that platform at this time of day. And it also tells you how many people are on during that time based on your followers list, right? Which is super, super important, because this informs you of when you should post your posts. Right. So if you don't have your brand set up on a business account, which is still free, or professional account, I would definitely implore you guys to do that as soon as possible, just so you can read that data to inform you of when you should be posting. The next is reporting. And that's just taking all information that your posts have garnered during that time. So for example, if you posted something and it received 20 likes, you got 18 saves and 10 comments. Just having a report of that, just so you can just share it to anyone else, a stakeholder maybe in your company, or if you're looking to think about investments or working with influencers. And the last piece of that is the advertising piece of it. And this is the pay for play. So this is where you get to put your brand, target people who you want to target, but you're paying to get more access beyond the general organic, right? Okay. So speaking of organic social media, we're going to take a dive into that. So to me, it's the slow and steady approach. It's the traditional approach. It's the approach that we know most, because this is what we do in our personal day-to-day lives. But it's a little bit more strategy behind it, right? The way that we post personally, it's because we're sharing with our friends and our family, and the angle is not to sell or anything else. The angle is just to share information. So you still want to have that mentality of, I'm sharing this information with someone just so they can get enjoyment from it, may learn from it, or something like that, without being too salesy. But you have to have a strategy behind it. Again, so this is like thinking about going back to your planning, the frequency of your post, how many times you're going to post a week or a month, what kind of content are you going to post, who are you going to target, these are type of things, what hashtags are you going to use. These are things that you want to make sure you're very much on top of when you think about organic, because again, it's the slow and steady approach. It takes some time to build a following on this approach, but it's also a very valuable approach. And I definitely would not do any paid version of this without having organic social media, because it nurtures relationships and with the audiences. So let's talk about the benefits of organic social media. It establishes and grows your brand's presence where people are already spending their time. So you're meeting them where they are. You're on social media, you're chatting with them, you're commenting, you're engaging with them. It supports and retains existing customers. It allows you to share your content with people who are already following you, to hopefully, and it depends on the content, which is why content marketing is so important, because you will want them to share it with their friends or at least save it. It converts new customers by showing them what you're about. All right, the next part of social media is paid social media, which is social media advertising. It's when brands pay money to Facebook, to LinkedIn, to Twitter in order to have their content shared with the audience that they want to target. So this can either be the ads, or it can be a boosted post, or any form of where you have to pay to get in front of people. And what us digital marketers have been noticing is that pretty much all the brands right now are leaning more towards this model. It makes sense for them because obviously they're getting paid more. They're getting paid for this. They're getting the money from this. And so it's longer the days where we can just post every day and hope that our following will grow, or hope that everyone on our followers list, people who follow us, can see it. Because truth is, if you even post something right now, if it doesn't get a certain amount of engagement within the first 10 minutes of being posted, then that decreases the number of people that's actually going to see that post, people who actually follow you, right? So it's important to, make sure you have that engagement, and then also to wrap it around with some paid advertising as well, because unfortunately that's kind of like where it is. But paid advertising doesn't have to be expensive, and you can definitely still do a lot with it for affordable costs. So I just want to kind of like just let you guys know like where we are right now with the pay for play model. There are certain platforms out there right now that are doing very well on organic, such as TikTok, as well as they're doing very well with advertising. If you're using Facebook or Instagram, the best way to kind of go back to organic piece, the best way you want to build organic traffic is to use the pieces or products, if you will, within the app that's new. For example, Reels, IGTV. If you post a reel, you'll get way more engagement and people actually have eyes on that versus if you just post a regular post. So make sure to always look at the new products or functions, and use those and adapt to those very quickly. All right, so brands are using paid social media to raise brand awareness and also to attract new followers. They like to promote the newest deals and content and events, generate leads, and drive conversions. So we're going to focus mostly on Facebook and Instagram ads for this piece, but the general idea can be applied to other different platforms as well. So why am I focusing on Facebook and Instagram ads, right? Well, first, they have tools that allow you to hyper-target the best audience for your brand. So, you can really target down to, again, like I mentioned before, the neighborhood, the city, what they like, their interests, things like that. But there has been an update with Facebook and Instagram ads because of the new operating system for Apple, which automatically doesn't allow tracking, right? So this has kind of changed the game of Facebook and Instagram ads. However, it's very, very much still two great platforms to use because they're all under one umbrella to use to reach your audience. It's just you have to be a little bit more strategic about how you approach it, being that it's not tracking the amount of people that it tracked previous to this year. So just keeping that in mind. Facebook and Instagram has a very robust active user base, with Facebook having 2.74 billion monthly active users as of October 2020, and Instagram having 1 billion monthly active users. And data, again, the data right now with it, because the tracking has changed, but they still have historic data that whenever we log into any other website using our Facebook login, all the information is still being tracked. So, it's kind of creepy, but also on the other side of it, it's good for the marketing piece. So it's depending on where you lie within all of that. And that's like one of the biggest discussions right now is with data tracking and what does it mean for brands, as well as what does it mean just for consumers, just people in general and their, privacy. So huge topic. I would definitely implore you guys to read up on that after this or whenever you have it in your leisure, just to kind of see where we are with the privacy and things like that, which is super important. I think people should have the right to, not be tracked if they don't want to. The next is cost per clicks, which are generally lower than any other platform. So this is actually a little kind of snapshot of my dashboard last year on Facebook and Instagram for my ads. So if you look on the left-hand side here, you'll see that total spent, the amount of money that I spent was $9,435.87. And that was between May 1st and August 31st, 2020. But if you look to the right side, under the column that says purchase ROAS, return on ad spend, you will see that there's a 3.35. So this 3.35 times the number that I spent is the amount of money that I made on my return, right? So I want to take you into a look into my dashboard on Shopify to see how this pans out and how it eerily it matches up. So there you go. So between May 1st to August 31st of last year, I made over $30,000 in sales with over $18,000 in online store sessions. So that's that 3.3 times the almost 10,000 or so is what you get here, the 30,000. And you can see here when I first started off how it just jumped up. And so each month I was increasing pretty much. But besides June to July, it was kind of like almost a little stagnant, but it continues to increase. So that's the power of social media. Before that, I was not using social media ads, and it was below 5,000 I was making a month. And then it went up to over 10,000. And, so again, power of social media ads. So when you're doing your social media, you're creating social media ad campaign, you want to look for certain key performance indicators, things to let you know that if it's working or not working. And so here are my top KPIs, my top metrics, indicators that I look for. So the first is your return on investment, which is your most important metric. This kind of is the guiding light. You want to make sure that you're not overspending and not getting, and then you're overspending and not getting anything in return. So you want to make sure that you're looking for your ROI. Your cost per click, which basically just says every time someone clicks, this is how much I'm being charged for that, really. The cost per results. And so it depends on what your result is. Is your result getting leads? Is your result based on the campaign objectives for your ads? Is it getting leads, or is it converting? Is it purchases? So that's making sure that you have a relative number there. Your click-through rate is the percentage of people clicking through once they see your ad. Are they actually clicking over and going to the website? The next is your ROAS, which is your return on ad spend, which is pretty much your ROI. Remember, it was that number back here, that 3.35 number. That's your return on your ad spend. And the frequency. The frequency is how many times your post is being seen by the same, like theoretically the same person, right? So you don't want anything over 2, because it's like, okay, they're seeing it twice, which means that the pool of people that it's being sent out to is not large enough, right? And so you don't want to get to a place where you have a frequency of 4. So that doesn't mean that people are seeing it 4 times. And yet it's good to have something shown to people more than once, which is why 2 is good. But anything above that is kind of like a little annoying if they have not, especially if they can convert it over to a customer or took any action. And then that's when you start to get like, okay, feedback and things like that based on your ads, which can be sometimes a little detrimental to your ad campaign. And the results, purchases, your leads, and your landing page views. Something that I do when I'm thinking about these different key performance indicators is I look for benchmarks. And you could do a quick Google search of benchmarks, just like social media 2021, 2022, social media benchmarks. And then it'll bring up different websites that has the benchmark. So it'll allow you to select your industry. So if you are in fashion apparel, it'll show you what the averages are for all of these different KPIs, just so you can have a benchmark to say like, okay, are my numbers like on par or on the same level as the industry average, or is it lower? And so it'll help you kind of to adjust your campaign and to optimize better. All right, so the last piece of this is the email marketing piece, which again is one of my favorite parts of digital marketing because it's super, super effective and it works. All right, email marketing, AKA let's talk to people who like us the most. So this form, as previously mentioned, is direct and quick. And the reason why this works is I'm sure we've all seen on the news or different publications how social media platforms now are just either like going out on like there's blackout moments. People are losing their followers. People platforms and profiles are being hacked, and they're losing all of their followers and everything else, and they can't get back into it. So to combat that is, and I tell everyone, yes, it's great to have followers. Sure, it's great, but the real bread and butter of it all is to have people on your subscribers list, because they took an action that's a little bit more than just clicking a follow button. They actually have to input their email address, which is, a little bit more effort put into it, which means they probably are more interested in your brand than the person who just clicks follow. Also is you can talk to them whenever you want. You can send them a message and it goes directly to them without having to worry about the social media and everything like that. There's like a third party approach to it. You can talk to them whenever you want, and it's very direct, and it's easy, and it's cost effective. So here are a couple examples from mine from last year. So this on our left here is the abandoned cart series that I have. And if you're an e-commerce brand, make sure to have 3 emails in your abandoned cart series. Trust me on this. I've been testing it a lot. 3 emails is the sweet spot, and make sure that your last one is the one that has the biggest promotion or discount that's available. So the abandoned cart email series that I had a 32.5% open rate and a 7.9% clicks. So according to MailChimp, and based on the benchmarks, the average open rate is 15.68. So I'm definitely over that, almost half. I'm almost double, right? So this is something that you want to look for when you're thinking about your emails. It's like checking those KPIs, the open rates and the click rates. If you look on the right-hand side, you see my low rate, my metrics are low, right? It's 12.4% open rate, 1.5% click-through rate. However, for this 2020 Black Friday, Cyber Monday, just the start of it, I made $1,321.90, and I didn't pay anything. It was free, right? So I just sent the email out and I made that, right? So that's the power of email. And honestly, whenever I send the email out, I get sales. And so I, would definitely push you guys to make sure that you have your email set up with platforms. Some of them are MailChimp or Klaviyo, and just to set that up and set up your abandoned cart series and some automation so it'd be easy for you to manage. So I don't know where we are with time, but that is the end of the presentation. And I definitely look forward to the questions that you guys have. It's been great chatting with you guys, and I look forward to answering the questions that you have.
Thank you so much, Phaon. Before we jump into the Q&A, I'm just gonna jump in here quickly. As I promised, we are giving you a code to Phaon's course that will start on February 3rd, 2022. And it's how to sell your creative work. So if you look in the chat, you'll see the code target, as in TARGET. So if you go to our course page, we'll also drop a link to that as well. You can use that code when you go to purchase to get 50% off of the course. If you have any questions or have any issues, feel free to reach out to us at pea@newschool.edu. So check out the code in the chat and let us know if you have any questions. I just want to send another quick thank you to our partners for tonight's webinar, Parsons Continuing and Professional Education, and thank you all for joining us. And I will let Phaon get to all of your questions in the Q&A box. If you have any more questions, please drop them in there now, and Phaon will address them from there. All right.
All right, so let's jump into the questions. So I'm going to start with what I have here first. So I have Deja, and I apologize if I butcher anyone's name. That's not my intent. So I have Deja. What advice would you suggest on redefining your audience? I thought I had an idea of who my audience was until I conducted a survey and found a market I never thought about targeting when I developed my business. Right. So this kind of goes back to the point where I was mentioning about that every 6 months, kind of like doing a check-in to see who's buying your products, right? And the best way to do this is to launch first. So going through the exercise that we mentioned before, launching it, and then using that data to help redefine your audience. So remember when I mentioned that I launched my brand and I thought it was going to be a certain age range, and I found out that was definitely not the age range. And so I took the data that I had on Shopify, because I have an e-commerce brand, and I looked at it as well as the data I found on my advertising from the Facebook ad manager. And I saw that, oh, these are people who are actually doing that. I redefine it in that way. However, I would never stop kind of thinking about other audiences that may be aligned to it, that or maybe adjacent to it, that you may not think about, right? So you can use the data to inform you to make it better, to optimize and be more defined in your audience. However, still go through the process. Again, that's 6 months, because you still want to find new audiences, right? Like other people who may be adjacent to it. So you may have a product that may be complementary to another product from another brand, but that may be your audience, and you never even thought about that being your audience, right? So think of I definitely would think outside of the box when you're thinking about who you want to target and going through that exercise every 6 months or so. And also think about the brands or products that may be complementary to yours, and then trying to see if you can target that brand's audience as well. So I hope that answered your question. The next is, how can you market connect with the segment that you yourself are not connected with or a part of? Example, different age range from you, different geographic allocation, different income financials. Perfect. I love this question, because you don't have to necessarily be in the group, your target group, for it to work. So this is where the research comes in. This is where the focus groups come in. This is why I think it's super important to have, either a live or a digital focus group of people who fit that, and ask them all the questions. Ask them everything. Where do you shop? What do you like? What do you like to eat? Where do you like to vacation? What's your favorite music artist? What's your favorite television show? Ask all this, because you want to have all of that information, because you don't fit within that segment, but you know people who are, and you want to find people who are. And if you can't, if you don't have the people readily available for you, this is where I would say venture out, join Facebook groups, join in on conversations on Instagram, join TikTok, ask questions there, ask friends and family. Do you know people who are in this age range? The thing is just to find people, and enough people, definitely, 10 plus for sure. The more the better, because now you have a bigger mix and a bigger audio, a bigger pool of people you can ask this question, and it's just not so niche, versus like asking 5 people and they may all say the same thing and they may not be like what the full audience represents. So again, use social media to your advantage at this point. Get those focus groups, ask those questions, ask all the questions, and figure it out from there. All right. The next is, what if the number of people answering on social polls is very low, like less than 100 responses? Is that really dependable? Again, it's not as dependable as it is if it was more than that, but you can still use it as a base, knowing that, but keeping that in mind, that you will definitely in the future need to have more people to get polls from and get responses from. Again, more the merrier. But I would if I got that social poll and it was that low, I would then ask the people who responded, do they know people who are like you, who may be interested in answering this question? Even if you have to incentivize it, right? People love incentives. Even if you have to say, hey, I'm giving out 20%, if anyone responds to this poll, who obviously you want to send it to people who match the audience, right? But like, incentivize it. Use discounts. That's the easiest way to do it. You don't have to come up with money up front, and incentivize people to join in on those polls and to ask questions. And ultimately, you want them to kind of go over to your email list, so then you can start asking them more questions from there. Okay. Next is, what is the difference between a creator and a business account on IG, especially in terms of data? They're pretty much the same. Honestly, you still get the same. You get the same data. I don't know too much about the differences besides the data. I know the data is exactly the same and you see the same information, but I think you have certain different functions. But the functions, it kind of shows up when you, like, for example, if you go into like, I think your stories, and then you click on like this little button and it gives you like, oh, you can add music, you can add this, you can add that. That's pretty much the only thing that it pretty much changes. And it allows you, if you're like a content creator, allows you to connect with partners more easily. But But that's my extent of what I know from that. But the data-wise, you see the same dashboard. It's pretty much the same dashboard. Because I actually used it for a bit just to see the difference, and it really was pretty much the same thing. All right. How many transactions did you have before you made the age change in targeting the younger audience? It was about, so it really wasn't more so about the time frame as much as it was for the purchases, because that's who I wanted to target the most. People who purchase from me, right? Like we're in the business, like we want to make the money from it too. And so I waited till I got to around 50, and I kind of started from there. And I started to see, I noticed then it was very apparent at 50 purchases that the age range that I thought was not the right age range. And so I waited a little bit longer before I made the full change. But at that point, it was very, very visible to me that this is not age range. And also, I think if you run a campaign, if you run a digital ad campaign and you put at least at minimum $5 a day, and you run that for a month and you get sales from that, you can look at that and it'll tell you the age range. A month can tell you, but you have to have sales though, because that's the end goal, or leads, or whatever your objective is for that. So yeah. Would the customer profile also be developed the same way if your business is a service resident? Yep, exactly the same way. You want to think who your client would be, things that they like, things that they don't like, their ideal client, right? And knowing that there are people who won't fit into that, and people, that's definitely for sure. But you want to approach it the exact same way. You want to have an idea of who your ideal client would be, because when you're doing your marketing and you're reaching out to them, you can speak directly to them. So if you're a company that works mostly with tech companies, you want to know, and a tech company, let's say the tech company focuses on pharmaceuticals. You want to know everything about that type of company, what they stand for, what they do, what their business practices are. So versus basing on people, you're basing it on the companies itself, the industry. And so you want to think about it as if it was a person. What are they doing are they doing anything for the better good of the world? Do they have like a nonprofit piece to it? Are they like working with people? Are they, what are they doing? So using that as a basis to create that customer client profile. If it's a business or if it's a person, same thing. Think about it the same exact way. Mobile marketing seems like it is really for young customers. What are your thoughts? I don't think so, because we all text. I mean, like, regardless of age, right? Like, I think that if you have a mobile device, we're all texting. And if you're thinking more so in-app, then maybe that. But if we're thinking about SMS and MMS, which is multimedia messaging, we all text if we have a mobile phone, right? And so this is now coming directly to the phone. And most of us have a phone in our hand majority of the time. It's just the nature of where we are right now as a society in the world. So you're going to have a notification in your hand. You're going to look at it, just the same as you will look at your friend texting you. So it's more, you have more visibility on it, because it's just something that just happens day to day naturally. So again, mobile marketing, I think it's for any age, but I think if you think more about in-app, then yeah, I think it was probably skewed a little bit younger, because it's more of a games and in-app advertising and things like that from games. But I think on the text, on the SMS and the MMS side of it, I think it's across the board. Okay, next is Michael Brown. Right now, we're trying to drive traffic to a holder page to collect email addresses prior to our store launch. I'm not seeing any registrations from our ads through Facebook Ad Manager. Does this mean our pixel is not working properly? Are you seeing, I guess the question, I mean, because I want to know, are you seeing, and I guess you can put it into the chat and open the chat. Are you seeing any registrations at all? Are you seeing registrations at all? You can just put that into the chat. And I can, okay. There could be a couple different things. It could be the people that you're targeting may not be the right target, or it may not be a large enough pool of people that you're targeting. It could be that your pixel is not working properly. You can go into the Facebook Ad Manager and go to the events part of the Ad Manager and you can test it and it'll show you if it's working or not. So I would definitely, once you finish this webinar, is to go back into that and just to see if it's working. But yeah, it could be a couple of different things with that. It can be definitely the targeting, and my go-to would be that. So what I would do is when you're thinking about creating ad campaigns, what I like to do is I like to create different ad sets under one campaign and test different target audiences. So I usually start with like 5 different audiences at $5 a day each. And if you can't do that, that's fine. Do 2. Or, if you can't do that, do 1. But at least try to start with multiple ad sets and with different target audiences, people that groups that you're targeting and different interests. So therefore you can weed out at the end, let's say give it a week, and you can see if there's any traction on them, and the ones that are performing better, keep those, the ones that are not, stop those. And it's just a good way of just kind of realizing, or kind of seeing which audiences may work best for you. So this is a rule of thumb I usually use is I usually start out with more than one ad set. All right, Jamie, how did you know that you were ready to launch your business venture? This is a very good question and a tough question, because I feel like I think you never feel like it's the right time to launch. I feel like there's always like going back in your mind being like, there's more I can do, more I can add to this. You just have to do it. And luckily I had a really good friend who knew all the work that I put into it. And she pushed me to just launch it. And so I did that, and that's how it happened. But I feel like as an entrepreneur, we're always kind of in this space of just like, should I launch? Should I launch? But I think the best thing is once you've done your due diligence and done your homework and your work, then put it out there and then tweak later. I mean, that's what most businesses do anyway. Like you're never going to go out perfect. So because you're always going to learn as you go through the process. So hope that answered. And actually, I need to get my charger before my computer dies. So give me 1 second, guys. Be right back. All right, I'm back. What if I'm creating a product that may not exist currently in the market and people don't know they need it? How do I do my target audience research? Okay. And this is something that's, I think, very common. If it's something that's niche or something that's completely new product out there, I would figure out how it aligns in the whole ethos, in the whole space, right? Like, what does your product do for people? How does it make people feel? What other things that may be complementary to that product? Think outside the box on what that product is and how it helps people, and then see how that aligns in their overall life. If that makes it's you have to think about it as in more of a complementary way, like how it will complement their life and what other things are complementing, not the same, but in the same space, and target that. Because it's a real thing. If you're just creating something completely new, you have to, how do you target the people? I would start there and thinking about how it complements their life and figuring out what in that space kind of fits that you can probably start targeting them just to start off, right? It's probably not going to be like the right target right there, but at least you can get the data from once you launch to kind of inform you a little bit more on how you can optimize and how you can shift to make it the right audience. And so, yeah, so this is something that I definitely work with one of my clients with, and that's the only way that, obviously there's probably more than that way, but that's the way that we approached it, is just taking their product, thinking about how it potentially helps the person, and think about what the benefit of that helping would be and like what that space is, and then figuring out how we can kind of tap into that audience. So I hope that helped you. All right, Jorge, we have, how does e-commerce fit into digital marketing and vice versa? Well, so e-commerce is the platform, the location, the digital store of it. Digital marketing amplifies that. Digital marketing takes that idea, takes that store, that online store, and markets it out so people can attract and go to that store and drive traffic to the store, right? So it's just a vehicle to get more exposure to the store. Okay. can you do an example of the customer profile filled out? Yeah, I think I may be having a webinar or something coming up. But if you want, you can email me and I can send you kind of an example of that. Or you can do like do a Google search on customer profiles. There are a couple of different examples there. But if you want, feel free, you can email me and I can send you an example of what it looks like kind of filled out with everything. What metric analytic tool do you use to see comprehensive performance of social media campaigns? Very, very good question. Right now, I'm using Google Analytics because it's, for me, has been it's because they have so much data and it's just like very good at collecting data. I can track literally my website analytics as well as my social media analytics all under that platform, as well as conversions. And it's very, very detailed. It's even more detailed than like if you were to do like Facebook or TikTok or any of those like platform analytic managers. So I would definitely do that. But to do that, you're gonna have to install some piece of code onto your website. And then you have to link your once you install the code into your website, that tracks your website. And then you can link it through the Pixel. You can link it your like Facebook to that as well. Also other social media platforms as well, you can link it to that also, and it'll just kind of track everything. So that's kind of what I usually use for analytics. And it's honestly really, really good. How long is the course? The course is, you guys help me out. How long? I forgot. How long is it? 8 weeks?
It's 8 hours. Yeah, it's an 8 hour,
Yeah.
It's 8 hours worth of video. And the instructor-led version of the course runs over the course of 8 weeks.
Yes.
So you'll have 8 hours of video to watch, and then over the course of 8 weeks, you'll have some weekly live sessions with Phaon and your other cohort mates who are in the class.
Thank you, Carly-Ann. All right, the next from Jamie is, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever received? The best piece of advice, good question. It's on the lines of just pushing out my ideas and not seeking perfection. I think I was like very caught up in the beginning stages of kind of like building out my different businesses, of seeking to be perfect, seeking to make sure that everything was perfect. My research was done perfectly, everything was aligned, everything looked beautiful. And then what I noticed is, and kind of what I mentioned before, is that I would end up, a year or two would go by and nothing has been released. And so the best piece of advice I received was just to honestly just do it and just put it out there. And everything else will fall into place, and you have more than enough time to perfect it and to make it the way that you want it to be once you launch it. And I think you learn more that way anyway, because you get the feedback and it helps you grow. So I think that would definitely be, don't seek perfection on launching a business, just launch it, or just doing it. All right, and the last question is from Vicky. Is there a way to build your ideal audience with Facebook tools or Instagram? Yeah, I think, it goes back to the engagement piece with both Facebook and Instagram. Yeah, just making sure that you're engaging with the audience and seeking out audience and seeking out people. I think that's something that I think we as brand owners sometimes don't do, is that we say, okay, we created this and this is our post and we're just going to, and we have hashtags and hopefully people come to our page. And it's not that simple, especially if you want to do it the organic way, aside from, doing like paid social media. You're going to need to like go to those hashtags, go to someone else's page who may be complementary to your brand, align with your brand, or in the same space as your brand, and comment on what people are talking about. Join in on the conversation, because that's the only way that other people, aside from obviously hashtag, will see your brand if you're doing it the organic way. Other tool would be to do boosted posts. I wouldn't fully rely on boosted posts. Boosted posts are just something just as an add-on. If you really want to do ads, you need to go through the Facebook and Instagram ads manager because it's more robust and you can do more targeting with that. But if you have a post that you just want to get a couple more likes or a couple more profile visits, then sure, it's fine. But if you really want to have a robust full digital marketing campaign, I would definitely rely on the ads manager. And also just stay in tune with Facebook. They're under the Facebook help section. They have where they like new tools that are being released. And like I mentioned before, jump onto those new tools as soon as possible, those new functions, because those are the ones that are going to push the most and you get more exposure by doing those. So again, if you're on Instagram, you should definitely be doing reels a couple times a week. If you're a brand, you should definitely be doing, and you know, it takes time, right? Like and I totally get it myself. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I don't have time to like create a video, but trust me, once you do it, and I've worked with my clients and I've done it, and they have grown their brand quicker than normal by using the new functions and new tools that are available on Instagram and Facebook. All right, and so the next question is, how long will the replay be available?
I'll jump in on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so Walker or anyone who's interested in seeing the replay, we will be sending out a follow-up email. It has a link to that, but you can also join our network. It's like free to join right now. And we have an archive in our network of past webinars, and this one will also be there. So we'll drop the link in the chat for you.
Well, this has been a great experience. I hope that everyone was able to at least pull something from this presentation. I know it was a lot of information, and if you have any questions, additional questions, feel free to email me. I'll add my email address here. But no, this has been a great experience, and I really hope that you guys were able to like at least take something from this webinar.
All right, thank you so much, Phaon. This was great, and we're looking forward to your course that's launching on February 3rd. Again, if you all are interested in signing up for the course and you want to take advantage of the 50% discount, please, we're going to drop the link in again. If you go to that link, the code target is already in it. So you can go there and when you go to checkout, it'll deduct the 50% from the instructor-led version, which is the 8-week experience of the course. And just note that this offer expires on December 11th at 11:59, so right before midnight. So if you want to get more this was just a sample that Phaon gave you. So if you want to get more, sign up for the course and let us know if you have any questions. But thank you again, everyone, for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you all at other Parsons Entrepreneur Academy events. All right. Thank you,
Take care,
Phaon.
everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.